Happy 3-month anniversary to enlightenment. So, I probably wouldn't be making a video today if it weren't the anniversary, but I feel like 3 months should be marked. And I've been making less videos. I'm less inclined. I think just talking about what's going on here, it's to some degree become it's like everything has been said, right? It's like talking about how wet water is at this point. Although I do still have some thoughts, and I realized that right before opening my phone that there have been some has been some new thinking that might be worth documenting. So do that. But yeah, I don't see where there's longevity in just talking about what's going on here and just doing that. That'll get old. Still don't know if I'll ever post this. I imagine a YouTube channel and creating a life around this stuff. Maybe. There's less of a pull towards that, though. I think there's plenty going on in my life that's engaging without making YouTube videos and having a whole nother aspect of my life that I might feel responsible for. I don't love responsibility. It's not my favorite thing. I have thought about, what I might do next, and what I thought I might do next is challenge some folks to a debate and, change my mind style debate. The topic would be, change my mind behaving as an enlightened person is the same as being an actual enlightened person. So, which I think is absolutely true from a certain point of view. And I might expound upon that if a debate ever happens. But some other thoughts I've been thinking of recently is goals, results. Those don't exist for me anymore. There are no goals. I'm not results oriented. It doesn't mean there isn't still action, but I think the thinking is not linear in the sense that we normally think of, that we'll take an action in order to achieve a result, right? But really, you can never know what a result is going to be, right? You can't fixate on that. Really, the result is the inspiration for the action, right? So it's more so I'm inspired by a result in order to encourage an action. And that's really kind of how I see things now. So if I'm hungry, I might be inspired to make a piece of toast. And so the result of having toast inspires the action of getting bread out of the fridge, putting it in the toaster. I don't know if I'll eat that toast. I might burn it and then end up throwing it away. Maybe too frustrated to make another piece of toast. That result might not ever happen, but the result in mind existed in order to influence the action. I think there's something else I was thinking of that I wanted to talk about. But if it comes back to me, I guess I'll start another video. I remembered what it was. So there's a saying, I'm sure it was coined by some famous philosopher or psychologist or something, says that change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of making the change. So I recognize that. That's a truth. It's a way of looking at things. It's definitely not wrong. How about that? It's not wrong, but it's not really the most pleasant way. of looking at things. That makes all life seem like constantly avoiding pain. And that's definitely not happening here. There's no avoidance of pain. What there is a path of least resistance. So I would say change happens when the path of least resistance is change. So I might wake up in the morning and not feel like getting out of bed, and I might stay in bed awake for a good bit, and eventually the path of least resistance is getting out of bed. Eventually it's taking more energy to stay in bed than it would be to get out of bed, right? Maybe a morning when I have to work, right, and I'm not really looking forward to working. I would so much rather just stay asleep. But the habit of getting up and going to work is there. It exists. The subconscious or perceived consequences of missing a day of work are there, right? I've experienced missing a day of work and, having to explain it, or coming back in the next day and having to deal with what happened when I was out. And so all of that's there, maybe on a very low level, but it's there. And so at some point, it would take more energy for me to deal with all that stuff than it would to just get up, get out of bed, and start getting ready. So, so you could see that as the pain of staying the same, right? Of staying in bed and dealing with all that stuff. But it's more that there's a greater resistance to that path. The path of least resistance now is getting up. And I feel like everything I do, every decision I make, it's all about the path of least resistance, and that is that represents flow, right? That's the way water flows down a hill. It follows the path of least resistance, and seeing things that way, then life is not just constantly trying to avoid pain. It's just flowing, right? That's all it is. That's much better. I thought of a more succinct way to talk about making toast. So I think normally we would think, why did I put bread in the toaster? And the answer would be that so that I could have toast, right? But a different way to think about it is, why did I want toast? So that I would put bread in the toaster oven, right? So that's just reversing the perspective that way. And that makes the action the satisfying result itself. So pretty cool.